Six, five, four, three, two, one.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, and I'm glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. Just looking for all my screens here to get it all set up. Thanks for being on. We are live on Facebook and YouTube this morning. Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and all those things with all of our social medias. We are also on Twitter, X, formerly Twitter, at I guess it's x.com/Sudbury News or twitter.com/Sudbury News. We're on Instagram, so you can like, share, subscribe, and follow all of those social media channels as well. Just want to make sure that I can get the screen up here on our monitor so I can see how many people are on and see the comments and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's been a weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. I know I did. It was a very busy weekend. A lot of traveling and a lot of meetings and seeing great friends and getting reacquainted with friends I haven't seen for a long time. And so it was a good weekend. I can't complain. And I am glad to be, I guess, back in a routine as well. So sometimes there's something to be said for routine. We had a really great show on Friday where we played, for the most part, the last part of it anyways, part of a documentary that was about geoengineering and the dimming of the sun. And it got quite a few shares. And I know a lot of you appreciated that and wanted to know the link to that particular documentary. I am hoping to kind of continue with the documentary. We only played the first little bit of it, and there's much more. It just continues to show that not everybody is in the know of what's going on with the whole climate change thing. There's a lot of questions being asked because there's a lot of solutions that have been implemented since the late 1990s on technology that's been developed, from the early part of the 20th century. So it's not like it's new technology, and what it is, it's just chemicals are added to jets that put different metals and different chemicals in our skies as you look up and you see the long lines kind of thing. And then the long lines turn into wider lines, and then eventually the lines connect, and it's cloudy and overcast and whatever. And so the idea behind this is that scientists have decided, even though it's illegal, global scientists have come together and decided that they feel they are going to put this program, this geoengineering program, in place. And fight climate change that way, and that's going to stop the sunlight from coming through. But it actually, there's a lot of questions about it. It's like a science experiment that's going on over your heads each and every day, right? And we'll only see the results in the future. And that's, I don't know about you, but I would think as someone that wants to be concerned about my world I live in and somehow spread the news, if you will, talk about it at least. And I would hope that something like that big of a deal that's going on over our skies would actually be in the news. Like at some point, news would talk about it. But it seems, I remember back in the day, calling into CBC here and saying, I want someone to talk about what's going on over our heads each and every day. And I mean, it can't be a secret. We all see it each and every day. And you'd think we'd have questions about it and want to get to the bottom of it. But this particular documentary does a good job in it. And what do people have to hide? They shouldn't have anything to hide. You know, if it's a good thing, you just bring it out in the open and you talk about it, and it is what it is. And that's what we like to do on this show, is just talk about things. And why should there be things that we shouldn't talk about, right? What is taboo, basically, to talk about? And why is it? Why can't we try to make sense of the world we live in and ask questions, first of all, that should hopefully lead to answers, and so we can make more sense of where we live. And if there are people doing certain things that they don't want to talk about, well, then that should raise a flag, first and foremost. And then we should ask why you don't want to talk about these things, or why it shouldn't be discussed in the news. And and that's the whole idea of news in my mind. And there is a concerted effort to shut down that particular element of our society, and that is news. The reporting, we see it. We'll talk a little bit about, CBC and all the cuts and things, and they've just been awarded another $100 million in the next year's budget, even though they were cutting, 800 jobs or something like that. And CTV cut, 4,800 jobs, including some of our local news people here. And so the more that's going away, and the more questions we have, and the less people we have to ask those questions. And even in the first place, when they were here, they were kind of afraid to ask them, because the people they were getting paid from were the people they needed to ask the questions to. And they weren't going to do that because that's who's paying their wages. But anyways, so we'll have that. That's intertwined in all the local stories today, by the way. And maybe we'll have a little extra bit at the end of the show to continue with the documentary, talking about what's going on over each and every one of our heads, pretty much each and every day. And something I think we should all know about. Why is it a secret, right? And so we'll have that. We'll have weather. We'll have sports and local headlines, your comments, much more. Let's stick with us. It's going to be a great show today. I promise you, or your money back. Okay, currently it is 3 degrees out there, mostly cloudy. And today we can expect it to be mainly cloudy, 30% chance of showers early this morning, and high of 12. Can you imagine that? It is March the 4th, 2024, and 12 degrees is our high, and rain. Yes, winter's been interesting. And tonight, cloudy, 40% chance of showers this evening, periods of rain beginning late this evening in amounts of 10 to 15 millimeters. So could be quite a lot of rain, and the low of +3 in the morning. So it'll stay in the pluses, obviously. Tuesday, periods of snow or rain ending near noon, then a mix of sun and cloud. Snowfall amount of 2 centimeters. So you got a little bit of a mixed bag, rain and then some snow afterwards. The wind will be gusting to 40 kilometers per hour tomorrow, and the temperature will be steady near +1 on Tuesday. Look at your long range. Tuesday, tomorrow, +1 with periods of snow mixed with rain. Wednesday, 3 is your high, mix of sun and cloud. 4 and 4 for Thursday and Friday, mix of sun and cloud there. And then they're calling for a chance of flurries for Saturday and Sunday, +2 for both of those days, and 30% chance of flurries for both of those days for the weekend, next weekend. Here's your satellite view. As of 4 a.m., you can see some of that precipitation activity pretty much just south of Moosonee and dipping down even around Sudbury, so a little bit of that precipitation. I don't see where the precipitation is coming from. They're talking about tomorrow, but we'll have to see it develop. Anyways, that's your Sudbury weather. It's brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of sports and see how the Sudbury Wolves did over the weekend when we come back right after this. So I won't go into a lot of the details. Pretty much the scores over the last 3 games of the Sudbury Wolves. They, on February the 28th, they beat the Barrie Colts. We talked about that on the show here. Sorry, the Barrie Colts beat the Sudbury Wolves 7-3, and a very lethargic performance by Sudbury. And they lost the game before that against Mississauga 4-3. So, but they broke that 2-game losing streak in a big way against Sarnia, 10-3 on was that Friday? It would have been Friday, yep. On Friday against Sarnia Sting at the Sudbury Arena, 10-3 was your final. Sudbury coming away with the W there. But then right away, the next game on Saturday just seemed, again, just a bit no fuel in the tank, and they lost that game 6-2. So they face the Sioux Greyhounds this Wednesday here in Sudbury, and then they have one final game before they hit the road to North Bay and then come back again. But anyways, they'll face the Sioux Greyhounds this Wednesday, and then the Windsor Spitfires on Friday before heading to North Bay on Sunday. So anyways, they have how many games left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left in the season, and they're neck and neck with a few teams for top spot, and that'll be so important for playoffs and who they face and whatever. So it's hard to say. I've seen this team really come off as if there's nothing going to stop them, and then other games you come out and it's like they can't stop anything themselves. So pretty much, and then everything in between. It's a big question mark over my mind with the team. I heard a lot of people talk about defense. We have very strong offense, but again, defense is the thing that we could improve on. But I'm not 100% sure on that as well. I know the offense thing is for sure. We have great offense, but I just don't know. I just can't put my finger on what it is. Like when they come out one night and they just pulverize the other team, and then they'll come out and get pulverized and whatever. And there's so much greatness there, but they need more consistency. They just need more consistency, and whatever will bring that to pass, they have to find that. Anyways, I'd love to see Sudbury go far in the playoffs, and we need it. We haven't seen it for a long, long time, and it's just great to rally around in our community. Anyways, that is your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by sudburysports.ca. The 5 will be in action tomorrow night down in London against the London Lightning. Then they're not in action again until like the 16th of March. So we'll talk more about the Sudbury 5 and the London Lightning tomorrow on the show. But that's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by sudburysports.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much more right after this. All right, and speaking of comments, we have quite a good group of people on here this morning, and want to give a shout out to many of you who are on, and a lot of you join us each and every morning, which we're grateful for, each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie, and liked and shared as usual. And good morning, Judy on Facebook. Thanks for being with us. And Denise as well. Good morning, everyone. And Denise, not the same Denise, good morning and blessings from Espanola. And Monique, good morning with a sunshine emoji. Maurice as well, good morning. Exclamation point. And good morning, Belinda. She says, a bird that sits on a tree is never afraid the branch will break because it doesn't trust the branch, but its own wings. Always believe in yourself. So the fact the bird can sit there with confidence on the branch, it's not because they trust the branch, they trust their wings. Very good. Very good. So no matter what situation you're in, if you have confidence in yourself and in your abilities and believe in yourself, you'll be fine no matter where you are, no matter what branch you're on or where you stand. And that's a very good statement. Thank you again, Belinda. I don't know how you come up with so many of those, but very, very good way to start our day. Vin, good morning. Much appreciated for being on. Hope you're having a good Monday morning. Belinda also says it's finally coming to light all the crimes that have been perpetrated against humanity. We are entering a time where those that have perpetrated these crimes will be held accountable. I would just so hope that statement is true. I know at some point in our existence, whether in this life or the next, we do have to account for every single thing we do. I do know that for a fact. It's when it happens and how it happens is always the unknown. But I do know that we all have to account for what we do, good or bad. So might as well have more good than bad. Denise, from transhumanism to terraforming our planet without our permission. So again, I believe talking about maybe us jumping off of where we left off with the documentary the other day and having a little more of a taste of that today about geoengineering, aerosol spraying in our skies to help us with climate change, even though the science isn't out on that and the effects of what they've chosen to do and are doing. Believe me, as a gardener, it's affecting our gardens. It's affecting the fruit from properly for me and killing the organisms in the soil. Again, like what is in this stuff? We don't know what it's actually doing. We do know some of the stuff. It's in the documentary. If you haven't seen Friday's show, you can go back, and I believe people were sharing the link to the documentary in the comments from Friday's show, which I really appreciate. And we may have a little more of it today. So even if you missed on Friday, maybe we'll get time to share a little bit more of that, which just keeps pounding home the facts of what's going on with it, with many, many people who are involved in the program or know about it and have done studies on it. It's one thing coast to coast across Canada. Canadians will stand by their money before their children, before their families, before their betterment of our country. Their money matters more. Okay, and I think that is a personal thing. I think people are on different levels of that scale and maybe come to realize what's most important at some particular point in their lives. Many of us, I've heard the parable or the story of like who is it on their deathbed that talks about, well, how many raises they got at work or what position they had at work or what kind of car they drove or how much money they made. No, the things that are most important to them on their deathbeds are their families mainly, their relationships more broadly. And that's the most important thing in life, right? Family and friends and relationships and what we do to contribute to those and strengthen them and help those that are closest to us. And then, as you go away there, so you have family, you have friends, then you have associates, and then you have the general public. But I think we should be good to all of those and nurture all of those relationships. Jerome, good morning, all! Exclamation point. Good morning, Jerome. Thanks for being with us. Linda, good morning to y'all, I'll say, but you said you all. Good morning, Linda. And Marianne says, absolutely. I've been doing gardening for 7 years, and at last year, nothing took. Oh, interesting. So there could be many factors in there, and I wouldn't doubt it if what is being sprayed over us has some particular effect on our gardens and on plant life in general, right? Because we know, like, there are programs where we spray crops to help them with different chemicals and stuff, right? And when I say to help them, I know that there's a lot of damage that's done too. But the idea of us spraying crops in the first place is to have more crops survive and have less effective, the things that would harm those crops. But sometimes we do more harm trying to prevent harm. How can the government be trillions of dollars in debt, but yet send billions of dollars to other countries? Great question. That is a great question. And many of us have that same question, which we don't have an answer to it yet. Marianne says people need to pay attention to what's happening at the international level when it comes to Israel. The ICJ, International Court of Justice. Interesting. Okay. That is true. There's so much going on. And I know I have a friend, Dawn, who sends us material very consistently. And I appreciate that. And a lot of it has to do with Israel. We don't spend much time talking about that on the show because there's so much going on just in our own neck of the woods. But that will affect the world. There's no doubt about it. It will affect everybody at some point. Yeah. It's just like if a fire is going on 3 doors down, eventually it can, if it catches onto the next house and the next house is not put out, it'll eventually get to you. Did you know our city council has no say what goes on in the skies over our district? 311 has no clue that geoengineering is what it is and informed me it's a federal issue. Well, that's interesting. That's from Jerome. So you called 311 and asked them about it. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, like even if they did, like let's say the operator on 311 went to their supervisor and said, hey, I just got a call about this, what is it called, geoengineering. They probably would have wrote it down. And what's going on with that? Nothing we need to concern ourselves with. Just go back to work. That's as simple as that. And then it gets stopped, right? So, yeah. People ask us, you always say, well, how could this happen without anybody knowing or anyone giving approval? Or if it was like that, everyone would know about it, and all this stuff. But, you just need a few people in high positions to make something happen and just tell everyone else, you just don't just do what you're told and they'll do it, right? Just think of your own job. Like you try asking too many questions or whatever, and you try to get to the top and get answers. It's not your thing to find out. It's not your position. It's not your job. So you don't have that information and you can't do anything about it. The silence of the people is consent and the halls are still empty. I'll never stop singing this song. Yes, you definitely are consistent with the idea of getting people in the halls and getting them to speak up. Jerome, nice to see. Okay, cool. And, I can't see people who are on unless they comment. I know other people can and see other people, which is interesting. I wish I could. Claire, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Miles says, hi, after a great weekend, don't forget about the teenagers playing sports. Rarely have prolonged consistency. Don't forget about the teenagers playing sports. Rarely have prolonged consistency. I'm not 100% sure where you're at with that, Miles, but you can expound if you will. I might have said something or whatever. Oh, Sudbury Wolves. Okay, sorry. I do know what you're talking about now. Yeah. the OHL is for player development and stuff. It's not like the big leagues and whatever where you can have more consistency. It's always changing. They're just working on things. I appreciate that, Miles. That is true. They are teenagers, and that is 100% true as well. Shirley, good morning from Capriol. Peace emoji, much appreciated. And Esther, good morning from Lindsay. I know that area. Lots going on in terms of municipalities in that particular area, led by a young lady, Maggie Braun, which I do follow on social media and keep up to date, and hope to do things similar to what she is doing down in the Peterborough kind of area, and also have it happen up here at the ground roots level to inform us of what is going on locally and where the policies come from, usually from higher up. Monique, good day, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Belinda says, all you take with you when you leave this earth, plain love that you made. That is true. And Richard, thanks for all the emojis there. Much appreciated. And I definitely know what you're saying. It's interesting how we can communicate through icons these days. Thanks for being on. Brian, geoengineering, yeah, that is the term. Okay, nothing on social media about the genocide in Palestine. Interesting as well. Like, again, right? What news reaches us and what news doesn't? And how much of it is manipulated? How much do we actually get from the source that we, unadulterated news, unadulterated information? So thank you very much. Keep your comments coming, everyone. We'll kind of have to get into things today. Thanks for, and good morning from Collingwood. Yes, Liette, good morning. Thanks for being with us. And yes, thanks for clarifying that as well, Miles. Much appreciated. So local news, let's jump into some of that. And maybe we'll get a chance to also have some more of the conversation. Ooh, that's my mouse. On geoengineering a little bit later in the show. Sudbury News brought to you by Sudbury.News, where your news aggregates into one convenient location for you, so you don't have to, now that news is a little harder to get, we'll try and make it easier for you. First headline of the day, with cyber hack, Laurentian considering semester changes. And this is brought to you by Sudbury.com. This is Heidi Ulrichsen, who reports very well on anything related to Laurentian University. She did an amazing job on the bankruptcy. Very good reporting. University may condense its exam period to give students more time to complete coursework, but hopes not to extend term. They're considering doing this, and to give them more time to complete coursework, given the ongoing IT outages at Laurentian since the quote-unquote cyber incident that began February 18th. Yeah, it's been a while. Senior leaders with the university made this revelation at a March 1st Zoom town hall meeting for students. A similar virtual town hall meeting was also held for Laurentian employees that same afternoon, with many students voicing concerns that the term might be extended, thus incurring extra costs for them or other unintended consequences. Interim Provo Brenda Brower said the university does not wish to extend the term. Instead, the exam period may be condensed so students have more time to complete their courses, and a special meeting of Laurentian University's Senate has been called for Tuesday, tomorrow, during which such decisions will be made. And it has affected this particular show and the station CKLU. We've been kind of operating with a little bit of duct tape and whatever, trying to find workarounds, and that has made it so that way we can't go live remotely from my studio, and thus our show is not able to be broadcast because we don't have the ability to go remote. And and we're hoping that that will be rectified this week, which it should be. It looks like the computers are back up and running. We just have to then make sure we work in a few processes and we'll be back on the air. So we're looking forward to that. Sudbury.com. Good morning, Sudbury stories to start your day here. Not sure what happened to that particular story segment here, but I am thinking that it is this. So Michael Vagnini had his funeral. It said the headline is "A Good Man Community Gathers for Councillor Vagnini's Funeral." The late Ward 2 Councillor Michael Vagnini was remembered by the officiant at his March 2nd funeral as a really, really good man who cared much for his community. Michael was somebody who went out there and risked and did what he thought was right, no matter what was going on, said Reverend Bob Burgeon, the former bishop of Hearst Moosonee. That's a virtue, believe it or not, to be able to correct what he knew was not correct and do it, knowing that he might be criticized or attacked. That is a gift. That's what Michael did over and over and over again. When he was convinced, when he knew something was right, when he knew that he needed to stand up, that's what he did. He told the truth as he saw it. As I'm reading this particular news article from this particular former bishop, do those words resonate with you? They resonated with me as, I don't know, a mantra for what everybody's life should be. And that's what I find at a lot of these celebration of lives. You know, I think we should have celebration of life for people before we pass on, you know, and I know that's hard because some of us pass on like Councillor Vagnini did unexpectedly. But I think it would be good to do before that actually takes place and have everybody kind of weigh in on the things that they believe we do well and for the people to actually hear it. And I know more likely than not they are actually hearing it anyways, but that's a conversation for another show. But be there physically and hear the actual words, the kind words that are said about them, and almost vindicate you in things, you know, because it's not easy sometimes to be like Councillor Vagnini was. It's not easy to be the only one in the room who stands for something that's right, or the only one in a group. And you're often ostracized for doing things like that. The group, even if they're going along with something that isn't particularly right, you know, will stick together as a group. And they will, because of that, they're afraid to go out on a limb and do the right thing. You'll be alone. You will be alone in that. But again, it was just these words, like he said, it's a virtue, believe it or not. Like, I can't help but marvel at the fact that some people would believe that this isn't a virtue. To be able to correct what, instead of what he knew, let's change the words to you. To be able to correct what you know is not correct and do it. Knowing that you might be criticized and attacked, that would be considered a gift. And is that something that you would do over and over and over and over again? Once you're convinced that something is right, would you stand up? Is that what you do? And would you hold to the truth as you see it? Right? Kind of thing. It's just wow, it just stood out from as I was reading it. And yeah, it just should be a mantra for most of us. Now, there are still questions that I'm asking. I'm wondering when and if the headline will ever read, there are still questions surrounding the disappearance and death of Councillor Vagnini. Will we ever see a headline like that? Because are there still questions about it? I would think yes. So why is there no headlines about that? We still have questions about the search. We still have questions of how a person could go missing on one street, last seen on a street, and then a search for 2 weeks and 2 days goes on with every resource the city has, and volunteers too, just citizens searching in that area. And then 2 weeks and 2 days later, the person is found 2 streets over in a driveway, the very place that the authorities were telling us to look. Look at seasonal homes, camps, cottages, abandoned buildings in that area. Drones and helicopters searching for many, many days. I'd have questions. Where's the headlines? Where are the headlines for that? We still have questions surrounding it, right? I don't think we have answers to that yet, right? How all those resources could have been deployed, and someone. So again, the questions are: was he there the whole time? And if not, where was he in the meantime? How long was he deceased? Why we didn't see him from a drone or helicopter? His truck wasn't running, according to Sirius XM or whatever, since the early morning of the day after he went missing. So 7.5 hours later, after he was last seen, there were no pings from his radio. So if he was driving around everywhere, how did he end up back in that same general area? There are a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Are we going to continue to ask them until we get answers? Or is it going to be like most of the time when it just kind of fizzles out and we're on to the next stories? Will people stand up for Michael Vagnini the way that he stood up for people, kind of thing, right? Just to get answers. And if those answers are exactly what the authorities are telling us in the first place, well, let's prove those answers, kind of thing. Like they said when the coroner did the autopsy, it proved what they thought was the cause of death. It was exactly what we thought. It was medical causes. That's exactly what we thought it was, right? No questions other than that. Like, everyone should be satisfied with knowing 100% exactly what happened with Michael Vagnini. He went missing for 2 weeks and 2 days. Every effort was made to find him with every bit of resources that the greater city of Sudbury had, and volunteers and citizens. And we just couldn't find him, but then he was found in a driveway of a seasonal residence 2 streets over. And he died of medical causes. Like, a lot of people. Yep. Anyways, I won't go on anymore because I just keep repeating myself, which I probably already have a few times. So if you have those same questions, let us know. But I would hope that we would still stand up for him, right? I guess. I would think so. I would think that would be some of the questions. If I was mayor, I would be me, like I am now, and I'd be doing the same thing. I'd say, I have questions for our police service, with all due respect, because that's true. And I wouldn't even say that condescendingly. I would say, we have questions as citizens. As the mayor, I represent the citizens of Greater Sudbury. And we have deep questions about a colleague of mine, someone I sit in council with regularly, that there's a lot of missing information. And we need to know this. The community needs to know this. They need to feel safe. They need to feel safe by knowing there's transparency and the facts the questions are answered through facts. And we need to feel safe that the people that are here to protect us are indeed there protecting us. And, you know, the less answers we get, the less safe we feel. And the more we fill in the blanks, like we talked about on Friday, the less answers you get, the more your brain just starts trying to make connections. And that's where conspiracy theories come in. You know, everyone talks about conspiracy theories. Well, there's a way to avoid conspiracy theories, and that's to give facts and prove something so that way it doesn't lead people to start going off and filling in the blanks on their own and then get accused of it. Oh, how could you possibly think that? Well, you're not telling me anything else, so I don't know. I don't know what else to say, right? So let's all be big boys and big girls and just do our jobs, right? And be accountable to those who we are accountable to, which are each other. We're all we got, right? And I just hope that I don't ever go missing by accident, and have these same people, like, I don't have much confidence that I'm going to be found, you know? Like, someone says, oh, don't worry, Sudbury's, you know, they're dispatching every possible resource they have to find you. You know, how could I even feel confident at all? You know, we should almost do a test here. You know, we should be looking at this going, what went wrong? What went wrong here? As a communications specialist, that's what you do in crisis communications 101. You have a crisis. This was a crisis. You have a plan for crises, which we deployed it. How well did it do for us? What went well? What didn't go well? And how can we do better in the future is what is done. If it's done properly. So we're at now, what went wrong? Because obviously we should have found him. He's 2 streets over. The day after he went missing, apparently, I'm thinking, we don't know any other facts. If he wasn't there then, where was he? He would have just been driving around in the neighborhood. People would have saw him. So let's go and say, what did we do good? All I see is people patting themselves on the back here, saying they did a great job. Thanks to this person and that organization and this one, we did so good. It's like, what? Sure, thank them. They did do something, so thank them for that. But what did we do wrong? What could we improve on? I don't think that's a great result myself. I don't think it's something we need to be patting our backs on. And even if we say, well, he had different issues, he didn't have medication. Well, did someone else drop the ball somewhere else? Let's say in the hospital or whatever, or medical professionals. What happened there? Like, what medication was he on? Why didn't he take his medication? Who was there to help him? Like, what? So he fell through some crack somewhere, and someone didn't do something. You know what I mean? And again, we're filling in all these blanks ourselves because there's no transparency in the timeline of what led to him disappearing and what happened after he disappeared up until he was found. And even after he was found, it was supposed to be like, well, don't worry, the coroner is going to investigate it now and everyone will know. And it's like, okay, medical causes doesn't really clarify too much to anybody. Thank you. So, and he is a public figure. And I do appreciate the fact that people say, you have to respect the family and the friends. And I do understand. And I do. And I hope you know that the only reason I'm asking questions is because I respect you. And I respect humankind. I respect life in general. And life shouldn't be treated like that. Like someone just had a medical issue And first of all, if you don't take your medication, how could that have led to death? Are people on medications that if they don't take them, it just leads to death? Maybe if you're on blood thinners or high blood pressure medication or something, maybe. But that could easily be explained if that was the case. He was on high blood pressure medication, he didn't take it with him, and that caused a heart attack or something. Oh, okay. All right, now I understand. That could make sense, you know? But why leave it so vague and so general? Especially, as a public figure, and there's our public institution, right from our hospital to our, city council to our police. These are public institutions that are paid for by tax dollars, and they're accountable to the community, and it's in the public. This is public, and yeah. I appreciate that people still have a good sense of humor. Keep it coming. And you always have to have sense of humor no matter what. And I know Michael had a good sense of humor as well. So we'll continue asking those questions until we get answers. And I hope if there's anyone in an earshot of my voice that could lend some light to the issue, to get some answers or whatever, just for Michael's sake, we want to keep it going. To stand up for Michael. He stood up for everyone else. Why can't we stand for him now? Right? So other headlines at Sudbury.com, patio lights and other plans in the works for downtown Sudbury as recently as the latest AGM. They're talking about there's a lot of plans in the works for Sudbury's downtown core. Lines of patio lights are expected to stream across streets throughout the downtown core, and an arena event center and library, art gallery are both in the works. And more in-ground planters have been proposed. An updated downtown master plan for the greater city of Sudbury is slated to set a long-term vision by June of 2025. Other updates to the happenings of the city's downtown core were provided during the Downtown Sudbury Business Improvement Area's annual general meeting at Place des Arts on Thursday evening. So more on that to come, as we try and beautify and make a downtown that everybody can, not only go to, but make use of. Community stewards pitch ideas through Project Impact. A group of community stewards came together on Saturday to pitch their ideas to make things better. Ideas ranged from giant pumpkins to protect birds from windows, and constructing free little art galleries to helping the city's homeless population. The thing that strikes me is that there are so many people doing good things in their communities, and that's from the Coalition for a Livable Sudbury's chair, Naomi Grant, speaking to Sudbury.com. A lot of the time, they're doing a lot with little in our city. So I would think, and I know Jerome is a fan of the patio lights, it should illuminate the downtown a little bit more, make it more festive as well, right? So nothing wrong with that. So where are we at? For time here, it looks like our time is far spent this morning. But hey, why don't we, for maybe 3 minutes or so, we talked a little bit about geoengineering and our climate and all that thing. Since Sudbury is not on track to be net zero by 2015, we need to really tighten things up. Maybe we need to see what's already been going on over our heads, right? Recently in the form of geoengineering. So maybe we don't have to do as much as we thought we did. Now, I'm not sure what just happened here. It looks like we went back to the beginning in this particular documentary, which I don't know why that happened. It really makes no sense. Yeah. Oh no, here we are.
A little research.
Yeah, we called it the elephant in the sky. I mean, everybody on the planet is looking up and seeing this kind of spraying going on. I became involved in weather modification analysis due to my background as a weather observer in the United States Air Force. And as I was looking at the jet clouds in the sky, I realized that that's certainly not normal. And so I've been watching these abnormal clouds for a long time.
Well, I started to learn about geoengineering just in a very personal way. I decided to leave Washington in 1998. I bought a small property in a farming community in Tennessee, and I still had business in Washington, and so I would drive back and forth between Tennessee and Washington. But I was also driving around the country networking with a variety of people, trying to understand what was going on in the economy. And as I was driving around, I saw this spraying, and literally you had planes crisscrossing in very unusual patterns. They'd fly back and forth, and you'd get this tapestry of crisscross spraying that would just hang in the sky for a long time. As an investment person, you're adding it up in your mind. Okay, we have 2 planes over this county flying this many hours and spraying this much stuff. This is very expensive. Who's paying for this? And I was doing a lot of research at the time on a great deal of money that was going missing from the federal government on a covert basis. On one hand, you have all this money going missing, and on the other hand, you have this fantastically expensive spraying program going on.
The ongoing global climate engineering operations must be considered a new Manhattan Project on a scale that is almost inconceivable. Governments all over the globe are either actively or passively participating in the ongoing climate engineering insanity, all for their own reasons, all in the attempt to keep business as usual until the last possible moment.
Geoengineering is occurring, it's been occurring, it is not new, and your tax dollars are funding this.
Well, my name is Kristen Megan Edwards. I am a U.S. Air Force veteran. I served 9 years on active duty working in bioenvironmental engineering. Upon my separation, which was honorably, I went and worked for the VA in the Veterans Health Administration as an industrial hygienist and an environmental specialist. So as an industrial hygienist, my job was to protect people from such things as heavy carcinogenic metals and hazardous materials. And through that, all items that came on base was approved through what is called an Air Force Form 3952. And that is a hazardous materials acquisition. So in order for a chemical to be brought on base, it had to be tied to a specific task. If people were painting aircraft, we knew where that paint was going and what it was being used for. And this was all for liability. So when you start to find constituents coming on the base that you're trying to remove from the base and engineer out through different industrial processes, that was a red flag for me and really told me to do my own research. I've often wondered with the large amount of people in all branches of the military who work in an environmental facet, why they aren't coming forward. I don't think a lot of people are connecting the dots. I wouldn't have stumbled upon why these constituents were being brought on base unless I had heard about geoengineering. So a lot of times I think people are supporting an operation but haven't really seen outside information to tie it to why this is going on. To see how much taxpayer dollars are used in military operations, whether they're peacetime or wartime, to see how much money is spent to reduce hazards, again, that affect human health and impact the environment.
So again, your tax dollars are paying for this, and it is through the military, and it looks like, whatever country it's going on in, the military of those countries are participating in it, obviously, because it's happening. And you would think if there was a bunch of jets going over your skies doing things, the military would be the first one to go, wait a minute, you're not allowed here. What are you doing in our skies? So it obviously has to do with our own military, because it wouldn't be happening there, right? So your tax dollars spraying you with stuff you don't really know. It is for a reason you don't really understand. Should you? Do we need to ask questions? Just, hey, what are you spraying us with? Why are you spraying us? These people have some insight in there, and we'll continue, I guess, with this. We'll just play a little bit of it when we have time at the end of each show, I guess, just to get all the information as much out there as we possibly can on our end. Try and inform us of the world we live in, what's going on, and try and make sense of things. It's not easy, but why not ask the questions? Why not try and find the answers? Thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate it, guys. We'll be back, God willing, same place, same time tomorrow, and maybe even on CKLU on the radio and CKLU.ca. So have a wonderful Monday, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you Tuesday. Take care and share, if you can, the video with others. And thanks, everyone, for commenting. We really appreciate that. I did my best to get everyone's comments up on the screen, and have a marvelous Monday. A marvelous Monday. There you go. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.